I'm going to do something really simple here. I'm going to create a very basic table, and I'm going to UV map it and put these textures on it. Okay, so if you're interested in something really simple, low poly, then let's give it a shot. So over here in Blender 2.79, I'm going to, I think I'm going to take the camera and the light, and I'm going to move them to another layer. And I've got this cube here, and note that my screencast keys are on, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to bring this up, and let's make the tabletop out of this. So let's zoom in and go into edit mode, hit the tab button, choose edit, scale this into Z, make it nice and thin for a tabletop. Hit 7 to look from the top view and scale in the X, SX, and I'm going to pull this out. All right, so to whatever length you want to do that. That's all I'm going to do for the moment on this. I'm now going to select these edges that go around here. Essentially, we're going to select all the edges. And I'm going to go Control E and mark seam. And then I'm going to select these top edges. And I'm going to go Control E, mark seam as well. Now it's debatable if we need to do the bottom at all, but I'll go ahead and just select all of them. And Control E and mark seam. Let's bring this chair up a little bit. Okay, so that's the tabletop. And now let's go ahead and make the table legs. But with this tabletop selected, let's go Shift S cursor to selected, so that when I bring in my next object, which will be to make the table legs, they'll come in right here. So let's go Shift A and bring in a cube, go into edit mode and hit S and just scale it down like this. I'm going to pull it down underneath the table, and I'm going to hit 1 to look in front view and 5, and just get a sense for how big I want the legs to be. All right, let's select this bottom face and just pull it down in the Z direction, and let's hit S to scale and just taper it in like that. Pull it down a little bit more. Okay, so that's going to be my table leg, and for this I'm just going to select the sides. In edge selection, I'm holding the Shift just to do that. And we'll select the bottom edges as well. We can mark seams just like that. I'm not going to worry about the one under there. I could delete that if I wanted to, which probably would be a good idea. Control E and mark seam. Let's go ahead and pull this down, and we'll delete this top face here. Just get rid of this X faces. Okay, just like that. All right, so now what I can do is I can just duplicate this. Well, duplicate it later, really. So let's just go ahead now and work on UV mapping this very simply. I'm going to grab these vertical lines and split my screen by pulling. I'm going to hit T with my mouse over here and T with my mouse over there, and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to switch over to UV image editor. Okay, now I'm going to go into edit mode over here, and I'm going to hit A to select my table. I'm going to go U and unwrap, just like that. Okay, now let me see if I can remember which one I want to click on. I think it's this one, this one here. Keep UV and edit mode mesh selection in sync. So if I deselect here, if I select this top, I can see which part of the UV map relates. There's the top. So if I click on this one, that's the bottom, even though I didn't, because I marked seams there, I get that as a separate piece. If I come over here, I see this piece, say I select, well, that piece is that end, this piece is that side, this piece over here is that end. So what I like to do for this, so it's not critical, is to just arrange this a little bit differently. So if I select that, that's the top. If I hit G, I can bring it down. I'm just going to bring it down below. And this piece, G, that's the bottom. So I'm going to physically put that G, I'm going to pull that below. So the table top is there, the table bottom is there. And now these pieces. Now this one is, let's look at the front view. Actually, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the top view is over there. So I'm going to say G, I'm going to put it here. And this piece, oh wait, I mean, this piece here is there. So let's move this down a little bit. Let's grab this piece again, if I can, G. Let's put it right there. So these are the long pieces. Okay, that long piece in the top. This one, okay, so it's over on the left side of, at least with here, so let's go G, let's bring it over here. And this one is there, so G, let's bring it over there. However, I think I'm gonna rotate this, rotate 90, and pack it in closer. Here I can go Control Up arrow to just maximize this window. I may be rotating this depending on the grain of the wood. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to R90, rotate 90, G to grab, and there we go. Select A to select it all, and I'm going to G, bring it back into the UV window. And what we'll do is we'll zoom in and we'll hit S to scale and just scale it down a bit, and G to move it in again. And scale, I can bring it up, but I may be moving these pieces around more. So I'm going to go Control down arrow. That will minimize this window a bit and bring it back to where we were. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I'm going to open up the image I want, the wood, right here. So I'm going to come over to Open and Documents and find a texture that you want to use. And I'm just going to use this one here. Okay, so just find a texture online, the seamless texture, open image, and what I need to do is I'm going to come over here and choose texture. Let's go back into object mode, and I should see it there. Okay, so I have to select it there. If I go back into edit mode now, in order to see the texture on here, I need to do a little bit more work. So I'm going to come over to the node editor now, hit N to close this side, and we're going to give a material, use nodes. Got that. Let's go over to here. Let's get rid of this stuff. All right. Materials. Well, I got to switch to cycles. I should have done that. Use nodes. All right. So now. Use nodes. Okay, so node. Okay. Let's what's going on here? Let's delete this and let's make a new material. And there we have our nodes. Okay. So we're gonna go Shift A and texture, image texture, and I'm gonna drag this over here and I'm gonna select the texture. And there we can see it already on the top. And now what we would do is come back to here and switch back to the UV image editor and go into edit mode, and we can see our texture on there. And if I click the top, I can get the top, I can see that. Now let me just have that texture in there. There we go. Okay, now I can look around and I can decide where I want to place this. If I like this positioning, and I can move that out for the moment and just bring that, maybe I like that position for the tabletop. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so I got this three of those. I'm not adjusting the size, so that's good. The bottom I don't really care about, and so I'm gonna just I might lay that on top here to give myself some more room. So the bottom would have this basically the same pattern. All right, but this is the important stuff. Now, the side one here, let's have a look at how the grain is running for that. That's fine, all right, for that. And this one I need to bring down, so I'm gonna put it right here. It'll be slightly different, but not over a line there. Okay, that would look good. But the problem is with the ends, because you can see these lines coming down and then all of a sudden they stop. So these pieces, what I'm going to do, that one there, I guess we'll work on that first. what I want to do is, I want to line these lines up with these. So I'm just going to go G to move. Got it. And I'm going to move it along until they pretty much, I can hold shift and move a little bit slower, line up like that so it looks like planks coming down. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Let's zoom in on this so we can see this. And I got that G, and I'm going to move it along until they pretty much line up. If I go back into object mode and I look, it looks a bit more realistic like that. Okay, and good. All right, so now it's time to do the leg. So let's first of all, let's work on, I can go control up arrow and maximize this screen. Let's work on the positioning of this. Let's pull it up first of all till it touches. View from the front. Okay, there it is. And then I'm going to go control 7 to look from the very bottom, and I'll move this into a reasonable position. Say there. I'm going to hit N to open up the side. And geez, maybe I go control arrow down so I get actually this menu here, because what I want to do is I want to mirror this with the wrench, the mirror tool in the x-axis, because I've got my 3D cursor right in the middle here. That's why this works. And I can also click Y and I'll get them all over the place. All right, I don't need to apply that yet. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to go into edit mode, and that's going to just select one. And let's hit select it all, U, unwrap. And I'll get this. This piece is the very bottom, and I really don't care about that. But these other pieces are, you know, the rest of the leg. There's 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, all the way around. The thing is though, I don't want the grain going like this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to hit S to scale, and I'm going to R90, I'm going to rotate them, and then individually I'm going to take this and I'm going to go G, and I want it in between. Let's go control up arrow. I want it in between these lines, so I'm going to scale this down. So it's just in between so that I don't get any of that, and that would be that side. And they can all be a little bit different. Actually, the more I think about it, maybe I should scale them all at the same time, so they're all kind of the same size. G, and I'll just move it up till one of them fits well, and then I can just grab the next one and I can put it in here. You know, if I want that knot, I don't think I necessarily do. And maybe this one I want this kind of wood, and this one I want maybe that kind of wood. All right, so let's check it out. Control down arrow to go back to here. Let's go back into that. Okay, so now what we see is nothing, right? So first of all, we need to make a material again for this, and we got to go back into the node editor and do the same thing. So we're going to go Shift A, texture, image texture, drag the color into there, and choose this, and then we can see the legs on here. All right, you see the sides. Okay, so that's looking okay so far. I mean, yeah, it looks okay so far. We can put a bevel on this if we want, and I'll just drag it down just to like that. All right, and I can do the same thing with this. I can, let's just put the bevel on. Just a little bit of a bevel. I can even come into the bottom, which I didn't do any work on, and I can inset a little bit and E to extrude and pull it out still. That's okay. I mean, if you like that kind of detail or not. Okay, so that's what we have so far as our primitive table. The next thing that I want to do is work a bit on lighting and stuff. Let's close this and look in front view, select it all, A to select it all. We'll pull it up so it's sort of resting on the ground. We'll go Shift A, mesh plane, And I'll bring that down. Let's just say there, S10, scale it 10 times. Let's give this just a basic material of sort of gray, dark gray. Okay, make it easier to see. If I do Shift Z, it's pretty dark, but you start to see it. So we're going to split the screen again. And over here, I'm going to go to the node editor. But this time I'm going to click on the world, and I'm going to add, first of all, use nodes. And I get some default nodes down here. I'm going to use an environment texture, like I almost always do anyhow. And I'm going to click add texture, environment texture, bring it over here, connect color to here. If I zoom in and if I go Shift Z, I'm just going to get this sort of cool purpley red thing because I don't have an environment texture selected yet. So I'm going to hit open, and I'm going to choose an HDR image. So for this, use an HDR image that you get on the internet or whatever. I can choose anyone. I would choose a nice bright one, that one. And now you can start to see some light. All right. Let's go ahead, Shift Z, and stop that. And we will maximize this again. Let's bring in another light, or a light. Oh, I got lights on the other layer, don't I? All right, I had forgotten. Let's actually move these back now. Move them back to this layer. And I'm not going to use an area light. I'm just going to actually change this to a hemi and use nodes. I'm going to make this about 4. And that's okay for the moment. And select the camera, hit N, and I'm going to scroll to lock camera to view, N to close that, and 0 to look through it, and the home button to maximize that. And let's just Shift Z, have a look. Okay, we're starting to see something. Yeah, okay. We'll do that for the moment. For the moment, as I always say. All right, let's hit 0 to come out. Let's take this light, Shift D, copy it. Let's bring it over here. Let's look at the top. Now we'll go over to the back. Let's rotate in the Z and direct it there, but let's make this maybe 2 and not casting shadows. Let's hit 0 and just have a look again, Shift Z. Okay, it's nice and bright. Maybe too bright. Let's make that 1. And the other one, where is it, lamp? Let's make that 3, that's fine. Okay, cool, so Shift Z to get out of that. So there's more that we want to do though, to make this look a little bit more realistic, aside from the ground, which the ground plane, which doesn't look realistic at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the tabletop and go back into the node editor and to close that. So this is what we have. We just have our image map and a diffuse. Let's go Shift, actually, let's zoom in a little bit more, and we'll keep this running. It might get a little bit noisy because my computer. But you know, we can see that there. Let's go with my mouse over here, Shift A, shader, not hold out. No, we don't want that. Shift A, shader, mix shader, drop it in there and it'll automatically connect. And then Shift A, shader, glossy, we'll put it over here and we'll just connect this to this and it'll go quite light. So let's bring this fact down so that there's more of the diffuse than the glossy. Like this, and let's darken this just a little bit. Okay, so far so good, and we can darken it even a little bit more if we want to. And then what we'll do to make it look a bit more realistic is we'll add bump. And the way I'm going to do this is different ways of doing it. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to bring that image texture in again. It's going to be the same one. Okay, that would, but I'm going to use non-color data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this color node dot to the displacement. Now, right away when I do that, you'll see it gets quite a bit of bump. Let's go 1. All right, and that looks quite cool and beat up and stuff like that. If you wanted to modulate this, you could use a power node. Shift A, go to vector, no, converter math. Okay, put it down and zoom in so you can see this. You can see it's add. You can choose, I'm going to choose power. It's going to drop that in, and it'll default to 0.5. You could try 0.1 and see if it brings it down enough. Yeah. So this is one way of doing it, like putting it into the displacement of the output. And I mean, I don't know, maybe I want more, 0.2. And let's just do the same thing with the legs. All right, let's add a mix shader, drop it in. I know I'm going to want this at about 0.1, and I'll bring in a glossy. And I'll just darken it up a bit. Let's go to another view. Okay, so we're going to work on these legs. They're floating above the ground right now. All right, so you can see that looks kind of nice. And so what we'll do is add the image texture again. And we'll connect it to the displacement there. And we should see, now maybe you like that look, you know, it's really banged up. But if you want to tone it down, I'm not sure about this part here either. But let's go ahead and try to tone it down. Let's go converter, math, and we'll switch this over to power. And we'll drop it in. And I think we used 0.2. And this is what we're getting. Let's go Shift Z, and I'm happy with those settings. Let's look at front view and see what is going on with my table. Let's go GZ and try to bring it down to the ground a little bit better than it was. Okay, back into camera view and Shift Z. I do like the harsh shadows that the Hemis give. I know they aren't supposed to work well with cycles, or they're not meant for cycles, whatever, but I tend to like that. You know, but there's my table. I just want to find a nice angle where the light glints off it. Glints, reflects off it, and then where the shadow's not looking too weird. All right, well, it won't take a lot of time doing that, but sometime, I guess. All right, well, you could do that yourselves. I want to see a bit of the side as well. I'm gonna try one more time over here. I think I like that the best. I'll take this and scale it up. All right, well, what I would do now is I'll just do a quick render, so I'll pause the video and we'll come back and we'll look at that. Well, it's pretty low poly, as you can see, and here's my render. So yeah, it's pretty banged up, pretty rough, but that's one way you could do it. Thanks for watching.